What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Before I go any further, I would like some feedback if you like the outlines. I think the outlines just run a little bit smoother. I definitely do enjoy kind of just going on here and winging it, but I think sometimes when there's more of a I put a lot more thought process into what I'm actually going to say formulated. It runs a little bit smoother, especially when I'm doing some of these background topics. So please let me know, comment down below. You probably want to see a mixture of both, as humans like, but if you like this, I will keep doing this. So today's video is going to be about the fear of fear, or the fear of being anxious forever. What that entails, how to break it down, and of course, as always, a practical example in the book. I use page 96, 97 a lot because it's the easiest, since it's the REBT or AKA DIB sheet, but I will go a little bit more in depth in different exercises and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about what is the fear of fear, why gratitude and perspective is so important for bringing on discomfort, depersonalization, derealization, chronic anxiety, shame and guilt, groinal responses, all sorts of discomfort, why we live in such a good time right now, even if you never reached your goals. And I'll talk about one of my favorite Stoic quotes, what's involved with the journey of breaking down the fear of fear, and then the book example. So first of all, what is the fear of fear? So inside the fear of fear, we have three parts. The fear of being stuck for the rest of your life and it ruining your life. The second one, the fear of going backwards, I feel like I haven't made any progress, that confusion that comes along with when you have moments of relief, or maybe weeks or months or even years of relief. You've kind of been coasting, you let go of the tools, then wha-bam, you're right back in where you were, almost like you made no progress. And then number three, the fear of developing a new theme, which can also be really problematic, or the fear of going back to an old theme, which is part of the second one. Now, the one I want to focus on today the most is the fear of being stuck for the rest of your life. So the fear of never recovering from OCD, the fear of being stuck with physical symptoms forever, the fear of background anxiety being present for the remainder of your life. Why breaking that down through agreement doesn't mean acceptance is such a key part of the overall recovery journey of fear of fear. Now, it's important to talk about that fear of fear because of the prevalence, because of the severity of OCD suffering, because of the realness of the suffering, because of the 0 to 100 of that suffering. It is going to feel as real as it can get. So it is super important to realize that not breaking down the fear of fear is such a critical error that we all make. Every single one of us make the mistake of not going in the fear of fear. And if the fear of fear is not being addressed, not a lot of progress will be made. It's something that I've kind of noticed. So let's talk about gratitude and perspective. So I have done a couple history videos on OCD. Inside those OCD history videos, there have been a lot of times where I was reading and thinking, wow, we live in a really good time to have OCD. All of the other time periods, people were basically, for better, lack of language, people were fucked. And the reason why they were completely screwed was because, let's say, 500 AD, 500 BC, 1200 AD, 1600 AD, 1900 AD, really no hope. Benzodiazepines weren't really invented until the 50s or 70s, I think in the 50s. And then before that, really, people just reverted to alcohol and drug usage, which is totally understandable. And the last mental asylum, I think, shut down in 78. We're not talking we're talking 50 years ago, 45 years ago. Before that, if you went in, told them about your symptoms, all it would take was one person looking at you, right? They're doing an analysis on you, and they think, ooh, Nick, ooh, he's a danger to himself. Throw him in the mental hospital. He's never getting out. Don't release him. Due process in the court of law probably wasn't the best with mental hospital patients, and or losing their rights once the psychiatrist writes the diagnosis that they might have psychosis, or maybe they're a schizophrenic, when maybe they just have a fear of being schizophrenic because OCD will mimic everything, so forth and so forth. So it's super important to realize the gratitude of where we live right now, why we're so lucky to have OCD in this time period. And inside that gratitude perspective, I like thinking about not in a comparative suffering sense, but what other people are going through, what other humans are going through. And those are illnesses. People always hear me talk about my friend, the one who's in the wheelchair. And unfortunately, my friend who lives 5 houses down, the one he just died 2 weeks ago, that was really tough. 50 years old, 50, he died. He had end-stage emphysema. He really had a really shitty life towards the end. And it was tough. It was tough to watch. I saw him all the time. We would speak. Sometimes he kind of knew I was there. Sometimes he didn't, especially towards the end. And that was a really unfortunate thing. And you know, I'm healthy, I have my health, I can hike, I can walk, I can do all these things when I'm anxious, and that's so key to understand. There's nothing I can do right now, nothing you can do right now to change the situation that you have OCD, more than likely because it's genetic. But looking at that perspective is so key for making progress and bringing down the fear of fear. That is critical. The third thing I want to talk about is what's involved with the journey. Fear of fear, the fear being anxious forever. Remember, physical symptoms of anxiety, chronic shame and guilt, groinal responses, depersonalization and derealization. All of that is unconditional life acceptance, accepting that life isn't fair. There's no universal deservingness. No matter how much we wish that, we could show compassion and empathy towards other people, but there are no universal principles stating that one needs to experience universal fairness or deservingness. Easy to break down. Kids die of cancer, car accidents, Holocaust, World War I and II, all the people that died. Most people don't know, inside World War I, 1% of the entire world's population died. 1%, the entire world's population, 70 million people died. Always the fun part about living over the Air Force Base. The second part of what's involved is wearing it. Wearing it everywhere you go. Weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, work, the walk down the street, the theme park, the meeting the in-laws, the new dates, everywhere. Wearing discomfort with you, not using self-reassuring statements to rid yourself of anxiety. I don't mean you can't ever talk to yourself again. You can't be like, all right, you know, like look at something rationally. But if you're doing that every time you're anxious, every time you have intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, urges, if you're engaging with that as it's coming, that will need to be brought down. That's so key to bring down. The third thing that's involved is ups and downs. OCD recovery is in no way linear. There's no universal rules just because you've been working on acceptance for 6 months that you should see changes. You more than likely will, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're still forcing it unknowingly. Those ups and downs, the roller coaster of OCD recovery, is such an integral part of something that we all go through. So never forget that. That's super important to remember. It's something that held me back a lot. And the most important, time, patience, and consistency. The reason why people don't reach their goals, the reason why I haven't reached some of my goals, you know, to admit is sometimes I'm not the most consistent. Some things I'm really consistent on. Some things I'm not. Human, I'm fallible. But if I want to reach certain goals or give myself the best opportunity to reach those goals, the consistency, the dedication, the wearing discomfort is so key to my overall progress. It's a huge mistake I made. We've all made that mistake. And that is super important to cover. Now I want to go into the book example. Heard me talk about this book many times. First book on the reading list, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes Anything. And inside that book, we have page 96 and 97, which is the dib sheet. So inside that dib sheet, we have the A plus B equals C. So the activating event in this particular example would be being stuck with anxiety for the rest of our lives, which would obviously equal the dysfunctional negative emotions of anxiety, panic, potentially depression as well. Depression usually stems almost always from conditional life acceptance. Oh, my life is terrible. It shouldn't go this way, so forth and so forth. And then obviously the unhelpful behaviors you could be doing are constantly trying to analyze, constantly trying to force acceptance. Rumination, as I always talk about, is primarily automatic, but there's a gray area between analyzing and rumination. Engaging with thoughts as they come, trying to rid yourself because you don't like the way you feel, and so forth. And you know, there's a whole entire list of irrational beliefs that can lead to all sorts of suffering. But the one I want to work on today is I must not feel anxiety for the rest of my life. It is horrible / terrible to feel anxiety for the rest of my life. And I can't stand feeling anxious. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's the worst thing ever. And my life is not worth living if I have to experience anxiety for the rest of my life, which is that conditional life acceptance. Now, let's go to the disputing, okay? Now, write this down, folks. Go through this, pause the video, write this down. It's so important to write this down. Where is holding this belief getting me? Where is holding the belief that I must not feel anxiety getting me? Well, it's getting you absolutely nowhere. It's getting you nowhere. It's getting you here on this video with me, Nick from New Jersey, with my welcome sign in the background that Erica painted at paint night. It's getting you here. Where is the evidence to support my belief it's awful? Well, it can't be 100% awful because I don't think it's awful. I think it sucks, but I don't think it's awful. And I think that's key. That's a fine line between this is horrible, my life is ruined, versus this is not fun, it sucks, but it's really not the end of the world. And if it never left, it wouldn't be the end of the world like I'd imagine. That is super important. Is it really the worst thing ever? Well, probably not. It can't be the worst thing ever. And the reason why it's probably not the worst thing ever is because there's many other things out there that are probably worse, like getting your legs chopped off or getting your legs put into a wood chipper, as I mentioned to some of them as a joke. Being in Auschwitz, all these other things, having cancer with a 3-week prognosis, all these other things that are, potentially really problematic. We're gonna see what we got over here. I think it's it's definitely I don't know where they are. They're on the street somewhere. Let's walk. Let's take a walk in this video. Let's take a walk and see where we're at. Oh, it's Mr. What's the day of the week? I think it's Thursday, which means they're coming to my house next. Here they come. They're on the way. They're coming. Yeah. Hello. She's looking at me like, what is this person doing? This is what's really funny. So this is a great example right here of what can go wrong when things happen. This is a great way to realize that life is never going to work out the way you want it to. I'm in the video. Usually not many people drive by, but it is 4 p.m. so people are getting home from work. So the garbage person's going by, all the other stuff is going by, and things just kind of happen. What I used to do in the past was this would really bother me, but now it's not the end of the world. That is a great example right there. It's a small example, but that is a great example of unconditional life acceptance. Nothing I can do about it. So let's go to the effective new philosophy, okay? Flexible thinking. I want to do well, okay? Or, well, that's the example in this. I would prefer to not feel anxiety. Anxiety isn't fun, but it's really just a sensation. It's not the end of the world. Humans are just very, very, very obsessed with not feeling things. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. It may be bad or unfortunate, but it's not awful. I can still enjoy things while feeling this. Remember, you have the ability to get better. Many people don't have the ability to get better. They have the ability to accept their position, but sometimes their symptoms are never leaving them. People who have chronic problems like remission with MS, or, like my buddy in the wheelchair, he has no hope. He'll have that until he dies. It will hinder his life until he passes away. I don't like it, but I can stand it, and I can still enjoy many things at high frustration tolerance. The reason why I like going through this so much, let me actually go to exercise number 12, which is in the page before. You cannot very well solve practical problems or make good decisions without taking some risks. Taking too long to solve a problem or make a decision. Indecision, procrastination, we all do it to a degree, unconditional self-acceptance, but it hinders so many people. Spending too much time and energy to solve or decide the solution. More applicable with OCD sufferers because it feels so real. You think you don't have OCD, you think you have OCD. Making a decision, accepting it might be the wrong decision. Picking the wrong decision and having to live with it. Big one. Many people have to accept that. Doing well with your practical problems at first and then later failing at them. Happened to me many a times, plenty of relapses, backdoor spikes. Finding a fairly good solution, but not a great one, which you would really like to find. So sometimes, people just continually to act like humans. One of my favorite quotes by Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, to think humans will not act like humans is an act of insanity. And it's really funny because humans are going to act like humans. When people come into coaching calls, I realize they're stuck. They're probably, not everyone's going to listen right off the bat. I didn't listen off the bat. I didn't listen to shit. And that is so important to cover. And there's so many great exercises in this book. And overall, this book has really been the best thing to ever happen to me. I actually want to end this with this. This is in the appendix. How to maintain and enhance your rational and motive behavioral gains. When you improve and then fall back to old feelings of anxiety, depression, or self-doubting, try to remind yourself and pinpoint exactly what thoughts, feelings, and behaviors you once changed to bring about improvement. If you again feel depressed, think back to how you previously used the REBT method to make yourself undepressed. For an example, you stopped telling yourself that life was worthless and that you couldn't succeed while feeling anxiety. You did well the first time, but then you fell back. You force yourself to go out and live your life, build lifestyle, you stopped avoiding things, and then basically what happened was you made progress. And this book is filled with practical knowledge, but I want to end it with this. This book is amazing, but this book is useless without practical application. I have a really big problem sometimes with learning things and then not applying them, but now, since I know better, but I still make mistakes, I'm a lot better at that, a lot better of doing what I need to do. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you're interested in webinars or one-on-one coaching, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com and go through our playlist on YouTube. Join our Facebook group. We have over 17,000 members. You come to a webinar coaching services, you get added into a WhatsApp group, all sorts of different people from all over the world. Think about how cool that is, that you get to speak to people all over the world in these WhatsApp groups, different cultures, different backgrounds, different economics, different belief systems, different family lives, different religions. It's the coolest thing ever. It is so unique in this one point in time, so rare that we get to speak to people. Like I was thinking, I was hiking with my wife and I said, let's use Tony Robbins. He probably speaks to people all over the world, but he doesn't do it on a daily basis in the manner that we do it. There's no way. He's not having multiple conversations a day with people in Romania, in Israel, in Japan, in Australia, like on a moment-to-moment basis, hour after hour after hour, minute after minute after minute. I don't think so. This is so cool. This is the coolest thing. And it is so unique. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below. Let me know what the next background you want to see. I think the next one I'm going to do probably is, we did ROCD, now we did harm OCD, and we did the fear of fear. I'm going to do another sensory motor, hyper-awareness, breathing, blinking, salivating, swallowing, heartbeat, clothing sensations, hyper-awareness of thoughts, how to break those down, what's wrong when the approach, and we'll go from there. Thank you again, and as always, have a great day.